you admit to each and every element of the offense of falsifying physical evidence and abuse of corpse. Is that
Yes.
okay? And
Yes.
did you speak with your lawyers in detail about that?
Yes, I did.
And have you reviewed the opening statement in which they will tell that to the jurors?
Yes, I did.
And do you wish for them to acknowledge your guilt on both of those charges, falsifying physical evidence and abuse of corpse?
Yes.
And do you understand that it would be the state's obligation to prove each and every element of those offenses beyond a reasonable doubt before the jury could find you guilty? Do you understand that?
Yes.
And that by agreeing to allow them to acknowledge this in opening statements, the jurors can find you guilty of those two offenses, relying
Yes.
on that information. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, and that is what you wish to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you have any further question about that?
No, I do not.
All right. Anything further that the state requests?
As further the state request, we assume that the court would take that into account and make a decision whether or not he's making a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of essentially proving his facts and proceeding this way, which the court will do.
Okay. So anything you want to add, Attorney Smith?
Not on that issue.
Okay. So, Mr. Montgomery, having heard from you that you've discussed this with your lawyers, that you've reviewed the opening statements, the draft of the opening statement, that you acknowledge that you understand that the burden of proof is on the state to prove each of those offenses beyond a reasonable doubt, and that it's understanding that it is your desire for them to proceed with that strategy. The court does find that this is a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of your rights and will allow them to proceed on that basis. Okay?
Oh, yep.
Okay. So while I have you, today you did refuse transport, so I want to talk to you about tomorrow. As we discussed with you this morning, you can't change your mind midway through the day, but you can inform the court if you wish to come tomorrow. And what I would like to do, and each day thereafter. So you can come and we will send a transport for you. That is your absolute right. But as I explained to you this morning, it's also your right to waive your presence and for us to proceed in your absence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to instruct the sheriff's office and the Department of Corrections that someone will ask you tomorrow morning, do you wish to come to court today? We will have transport available to you if you want to come, but I am not inclined to send a car up there to pick you up only to have you refuse. So do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any concern about that procedure?
No, I do not.
Okay. So it is our intention to have someone ask you tomorrow morning whether or not you wish to come. And whenever they come to ask you that question, they're going to need an answer from you so that we have sufficient time to make sure that we get you down here in order for us to start the trial in a timely manner. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I believe your counsel will be speaking to you later, at some point later today.
Not today.
Oh, not
We
today.
can't.
Okay.
24-hour notice.
Okay. So that's going to be the procedure for tomorrow morning and each day thereafter of this trial, unless and until the court makes a different order on that. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anything further from the state while Mr. Montgomery is present?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Montgomery, you're free to go now. I appreciate that that you are speaking with us when we need to speak with you, because we are keeping the jurors waiting when we do this.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to begin this case with a view. We will be traveling to several locations within the city of Manchester to observe certain areas you will be hearing testimony about. The purpose of the view is to make the testimony you will hear more understandable. If you have the opportunity to look at a scene, the testimony may make more sense to you. Your obligation on The View is to look as carefully as you can and to remember what you see as well as you can. You may not ask questions. You may not take any notes or measurements. You should look carefully at what the lawyers will be pointing out to you. What you see on The View is evidence in this case. Please stay as close together as possible so that you will all be viewing the scene from approximately the same perspective. If you cannot hear or see, please call that to my attention or to the attention of one of our court officers. After the view is completed, you may not revisit the scenes on your own during trial. Also, you may not engage in any discussion among yourselves or with anyone else concerning what you see at the view. As you know, you are not to talk with each other or with anyone else about the case until the end of the trial when you are conducting your deliberations. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, counsel will have the opportunity to make their preview statements to you concerning what they expect you will be seeing on the view. Yes, you may.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ben, and I represent the state on this matter. What we're going to do, and first of all, since it's my first opportunity to talk to you as the jury, big J as opposed to little j, let me thank you again for your time that you're going to be putting forward not only today but throughout the trial. It is very important, both to society, to the government, to the citizens, and it is very, very much appreciated. The first part of your job, for the most part, is going to be taking place in this room. The vast majority of it dealing with the witnesses and the exhibits that you see. But as you just heard from Judge Messer, another part is going to be the view. This is evidence, what you're going to see today. It is going to be work on the view. You're going to have to walk around in 2 different locations, and the rest of them will require you to look out the windows of the bus to be able to take into account the neighborhoods that you were in. I'm going to explain every place that we're going to go in just a moment, and the defense counsel will also have that same opportunity. Together, we are going to see where this happened. You're going to get to see the same places, the same locations in person that you are later on going to see and hear evidence at trial. And you've already heard, again, Judge Messer's instruction. You should consider today's view to be like evidence. In a few minutes, we are going to get on a bus, maybe not now, and we're going to see a couple different locations in Manchester. In some ways, it's going to be the beginning of a journey that you will likely never forget. This is also the last journey that Harmony Montgomery took while she was alive and where her body went afterwards. It's a journey that's into the actions of the defendant on that day and the days forward. And we're going to drive by places where Harmony was first assaulted, where she was later killed, or she was later consolidated and crushed. And then finally, the different other locations of where the defendant had her in the city. What you're going to see today is part of the evidence.
I guess for copyright purposes, I should come give some commentary. I know there's only 3 of y'all in here watching. Thank you, Angelina, for being here and chatting. I don't always want to cover summer. I know that's what the viewers want, and I apologize. I want to cover other cases and other kids. Yes, Adam's on trial, but Harmony's still missing. There's still not complete answers for what had happened to her. I don't even know how far they went today in the trial. I didn't even know it started today. I was flabbergasted. Right before I come on, I was all set to cover Haleigh, Cummings, and I'm going to go over that in a little bit. I want to make sure I keep her face out there, and I'm still going to cover her. So, but I seen Adam was on trial, and I was like, oh shit, I want to show this. So I put it on, and I put the first video on. We can go back and watch it again. But it was, holy shit, guys. He pleaded guilty to abuse to a corpse. What? The same Adam that sat out there with the police fighting with them, leave me alone, that little cocky attitude he had sitting in the courtroom last time. Huh? So I'm floored. So I'm watching this for the first time while I'm watching it with you guys. Let me go back. Hold on. I know it's only now 2. It's fine. I still am going to play
You
it.
admit to each and every element of the offense of falsifying physical evidence and abuse of corpse. Is that
Yes.
okay? And
Yes.
did you speak with your lawyer?
And not one yes. Dude gave 2 yeses. Yes. Yes. That's amazing. Let's hope this is bringing forth answers, because Kayla, wow, like, she's snitching too. Hold on a minute. What's your thoughts on Kayla? Angelina? I kind of feel sorry for her, but I don't. It's so weird. Like, she's one of those people, when you hear about them, you don't know how to feel. Like, you see how sad her life was, right? She was an abuser, and your mind don't work right when you abuse drugs. So it leads you to do certain things. I'm proud of her for finally speaking out a little bit and getting on the stand the last time she got on the stand. But she's still a piece of shit. Like, no way around it. You know what I mean? Like, you have children, you should know not to be a drug addict. That's your choice. I believe drug addiction is an addiction. I believe it is just like gambling. You get into the everybody's always, hold on, am I on here? Because I'm not added. Hold on. Just let me make sure you can hear me. Yeah. Okay. So, like, drug addiction is one of those things you choose to do, but it becomes an illness, right? So, the way I look at drug addiction, and I have a lot of drug addicts in my family, so, but her 3 kids are still alive. Correct, sparkling bubbles. Like, you have to, being a human, you have that little ounce of sorrow. You know what I mean? But for me, it doesn't outweigh what she did. She's a monster in my eyes. And it's hard. I can't not go looking at every human being trying to have compassion and trying to see why. Like, why would you allow something like this to happen and then lie for him, even when you aren't together with him? You know what I mean? This is just speculation. Maybe a little bit of gossipy talk about true crime here. But it doesn't add up. It's sick. You could tell she was very sick. I hope she'll get help in the future. Um, Forgiveness can happen, but the only way she could do that in the public eye is to stay completely sober and tell everything she knows. She'll always be a piece of shit, but maybe she can lessen the pain for herself, in my opinion. It's just one of those things you don't know how to respond to. Honestly, when I found your channel the other day, I like your finesse with Summer, and you show your heart and stride forward for her. Aw, thank you, Angelina. I appreciate that very much. I do. And stick around, because I do want to cover other cases. Summer's face, like I said, needs to be out there every day. And I went live this morning and I spoke about Summer, but I think in the evenings I'm going to try to pull a different crowd. I'm not pulling Summer's crowd. Ziggy's right. She's over there bashing me, whatever. It's too far done for me. So, I think I'm going to try to start going live twice a day, except for maybe 2 days a week. I don't know. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get it together. Angelina, I'm glad you found me. You're going to find out there's a whole mess with me. I'm a disaster, you know? But I got to pull another crowd. I got to pull different people that want to see different things. And I think that people like Harmony, people like Haleigh, they need their voices out there. They need their pictures out there. There has to be more. I know some of them are even cold cases, but those cold cases are still missing. And how many times, not many, but how many times has it been? I shared with you guys the other day. I am actually from the same area Tanya Cash is from. Mr. Hose, I misspoke. I put janitor. I'll explain it. I graduated before she made it to middle. Like, she was at the beginning of middle school. I didn't graduate. I quit. And I quit in another school. But when I went there, she was like first year or something. We were very big difference. I didn't know her. My sister knew her. They were in the same grade, but I had already had a baby, and well, I was pregnant. But it was my area, and I did live there. He wasn't a janitor. He was a security guard. Thomas Hose. And that was crazy for our community. And Tanya got a lot of slack. Like, oh my God. And even now, still, you get the busybodies that talk about her. You know, there's a lot of loose lawsuits. That case has a whole. But that store she would visit every day actually was behind my house at one time. I lived there prior to her going missing on Soul Street. And it was like the worst street in McKeesport ever. You know? But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just interested in this stuff, and I want to keep other names and faces out there. I want to talk about maybe some cases close to me. There's a little girl missing I shared in my community post the other day. Her name's Kimberly Krim. That's a really sad case. I'm not going to get into it right now because I do know her family. You know, been following Haleigh since she been gone. Always wondered what really happened to sweet Haleigh. Yeah, sparkling bubbles. I want to start maybe trying to pull in. Like, I know a lot of people go live and they talk about Haleigh, but I do things a little bit different. I just go through and click clips and watch them with you guys and then commentate on them. And to me, that's keeping her face and her name out there so that people don't forget who she is. I followed Haleigh's case since the very beginning, and like Summer's case, because I see, like, I you know, it's not really healthy to compare your life to somebody else's life, but we try to do it, and I've had a fucked up childhood, you know? That's just the truth of it. And these two cases are probably the most that remind me of my own family. Now, of course, differently, you know what I mean? So they've touched my heart in some sort of way. And I did watch Haleigh from day one, but I forget a lot. I'm rusty. That was a long time ago now, you know? So I just, for right now, I want to pull clips, keep her name, keep her face out there. As I start to remember things from her case, and you guys help me along the beaten path here, we can start maybe doing some research, because what was that, 10 years ago? We didn't have 11, 12 years ago now, even. We didn't have the type of technology we have today, you know? So maybe we'll be able to dig up or uncover or something. And I'm sure the Satsuma Police Department would be greatly helpful for that, because they want Haleigh found too. You could tell they've cared for a long time. Holy Lord, do you remember the whole Tim Miller stuff that happened with Haleigh? I don't want to cover that tonight, but we'll get into that. That'll be the next one. I think tonight I still want to go over Joe. We didn't get real deep into Overstreet last time we spoke about him. But yeah, let's listen to a little bit more of Adam. I've been on 20 minutes. I could stay on a little longer tonight, I think. So we're good. We'll do like an hour and a half of Haleigh and then an hour and a half of Harmony. Okay? If that's okay with you guys. So let's kick this off. I'm going to mute and we'll go back and listen to this part and then we'll just continue on to the part we were on.
You admit to each and every element of the offense of falsifying physical evidence and abuse of corpse. Is that
Yes.
okay? And did you
Yes.
speak with your lawyers in detail about that?
Yes, I did.
And have you reviewed the opening statement in which they will tell that to the jurors?
Yes, I did.
And do you wish for them to acknowledge your guilt on both of those charges, falsifying physical evidence and abuse of corpse?
Yes.
And do you understand that it would be the state's obligation to prove each and every element of those offenses beyond a reasonable doubt before the jury could find you guilty? Do you understand that?
Yes.
And that by agreeing to allow them to acknowledge this in opening statements, the jurors can find you guilty of those two offenses, relying
Yes.
on that information. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, and that is what you wish to do?
So I'm confused by this. He's not pleading guilty to the murders now, right? But he's pleading guilty to the abuse of corpse. And the judge is telling him they're going to find you guilty. So why are you going to trial? Why not just plead guilty totally? Am I missing something here? It's strange, but it's an indication that Adam Montgomery is pleading guilty to Harmony being missing. And for me, that's fantastic news because is he going to tell us where she is finally? Is he going to tell her mother where her baby is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you have any further question about that?
No, I do not.
All right. Anything further that the state requests?
As further the state request, we assume that the court would take that into account and make a decision whether or not he's making a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of essentially proofing his facts and proceeding this way, which I'm sure the court will do.
Okay. So anything you want to add, Attorney Smith?
Not on that issue.
Okay. So, Mr. Montgomery, having heard from you that you've discussed this with your lawyers, that you've reviewed the opening statements, the draft of the opening statement, that you acknowledge that you understand that the burden of proof is on the state to prove each of those offenses beyond a reasonable doubt, and that is understanding that it is your desire for them to proceed with that strategy. The court does find that this is a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of your rights and will allow them to proceed on that basis. Okay?
Oh, yep.
Okay. So while I have you, today you did refuse transport, so I want to talk to you about tomorrow. As we discussed with you this morning, you can't change your mind midway through the day. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to begin this case with a view. We will be traveling to several locations within the city of Manchester to observe certain areas you will be hearing testimony about. The purpose of the view is to make the testimony you will hear more understandable. If you have the opportunity to look at a scene, the testimony may make more sense to you. Your obligation on the view is to look as carefully as you can.
So today, did anybody see if they showed them going to the scene? What scene did they go to? Did they find what the hell is going on here? I'm lost, guys. I haven't paid attention to Harmony in a while. That's sad. Maybe they're going to the house that they lived in at the time where they took the refrigerator from. Remember that? Hold on.
And to remember what you see as well as you can. You may not ask questions. You may not take any notes or measurements. You should look carefully at what the lawyers will be pointing out to you. What you see on the view is evidence in this case. Please stay as close together as possible so that you will all be viewing the scene from approximately the same perspective. If you cannot hear or see, please call that to my attention or to the attention of one of our court officers. After the view is completed, you may not revisit the scenes on your own during trial. Also, you may not engage in any discussion among yourselves or with anyone else concerning what you see at the view. As you know, you are not to talk with each other or with anyone else about the case until the end of the trial when you are conducting your deliberations. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, counsel will have the opportunity to make their preview statement.
I would never make a good juror. Never. Because I just want to look at me with my true crime channel. I would just want to gossip and gossip and gossip and gossip and gossip and talk about the trial. I'd be kicked off day one. I hope they never pick me for jury duty. I was picked once, but they didn't pick. I didn't even make it to town. Okay.
Statements to you concerning what they expect you will be seeing on the view. Yes, you may.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benedict. I represent the state on this. What we're going to do, and first of all, since it's my first opportunity to talk to you as the jury, big J as opposed to the little j, let me thank you again for your time that you're going to be putting forward not only today but throughout the trial. It's very important both to society, to the government, to the citizens, and it was very, very much appreciated. The first part of your job, for the most part, is going to be taking place in this room. The vast majority of it dealing with the witnesses and the exhibits that you see. But as you just heard from Judge Messer, another part is going to be the view. This is evidence, what you're going to see today. It is going to be work on the view. You're going to have to walk around in 2 different locations, and the rest of them will require you to look out the windows of the bus to be able to take into account the neighborhoods that you were in. I'm going to explain every place that we're going to go in just a moment, and the defense counsel will also have that same opportunity. Together, we are going to see where this happened. You're going to get to see the same places, the same locations in person that you are later on going to see and hear evidence at trial.
I don't get it. If he's pleading guilty of abuse of a corpse, why is he putting the taxpayers and everybody through this? Just plead guilty and tell them where your daughter is, Adam.
And you've already heard, again, Judge Messer's instruction. You should consider today's view to be like evidence. In a few minutes, we are going to get on a bus, maybe about now, and we're going to see a couple different locations in Manchester. In some ways, it's going to be the beginning of a journey that you will likely never forget. This is also the last journey that Harmony Montgomery took while she was alive, and where her body went afterwards. It's a journey that's into the actions of the defendant on that day and the days forward. And we're going to drive by places where Harmony was first assaulted, where she was later killed, where she was later consolidated and crushed. And then finally, the different other locations of where the defendant had her in the city. What you are going to see today is part of the evidence. Some of the locations that we're going to drive by, we are just going to pass by in the bus for a minute, and the bus is going to pull over to the side of the road. So you have an opportunity to look at that location and take in the surroundings. And on 2 of the locations, we will physically get out. One will be a parking lot, and the other one will be an intersection. We will not be going into any residences. Later on, you're going to hear testimony about different homes. We may be driving.
So I'm assuming, what was his girlfriend's name at the time? I'm going to assume they're going to take the jurors to where they found her in the car, and the police first approached Adam. Maybe another night we'll come back and go over those. That would be interesting to watch.
By an apartment complex today, but we will not be going inside in the actual rooms where Harmony was, or where Harmony later was kept. So we will be outside for the 2 times that we get out of the bus. So before we do that, I want to kind of start at the beginning. The first place that we're going to go to, and this is Miss Johnson, forget my art skills, high school. We're going to start at the courthouse. And the first place that we're going to go to is we're going to go down past Elm Street. Definitely not to scale. We're going to come across Merrimack, and we're going to go up here on Market Street. And at that point, we're going to pull the bus over to the side of the road, and you're going to be able to look out, and I would say look out the right-hand side of the bus to the area of 20 Market Street. That's the location of the methadone clinic, where the defendant took Harmony that morning with the rest of the family inside a 2010 gray Chrysler Sebring. When you're
Okay, I've missed a lot. They just said that morning they went to a methadone clinic. Maybe I need to go back and listen to Kayla's testimony again. It wasn't that long ago. I shouldn't forget it, but I don't remember them. Well, I guess Kayla wouldn't have been with them. So this is new information, maybe. Something we didn't know. He took Harmony to a methadone clinic. Okay.
there, I want you to be able to take into account just the outside of the building and also look at the neighborhood. I want you to see the number of other businesses that are nearby, the number of other cars that are nearby, the number of the amount of foot traffic that may be there while we're there. You're going to hear in opening arguments that it was at that first location outside the methadone clinic that the defendant came out from getting his medication, got into the car, and understood that Harmony had had an accident, saying words to the effect of, "Really, Harmony, again?"
Objection, Your Honor.
Approach.
Okay. So Kayla might have testified to this. I just don't remember. Yes, Kayla testified to the fact that Harmony had had an accident and Adam went ape shit, right? Ooh, what a piece of shit. Oh my God. They're on recess, so I'll keep it. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Was it the Burger King? We didn't know they were going to a methadone clinic, so that is new information, I believe. It's all going to come out. This is like, his trial starts like tomorrow, I guess, his opening statements. That's why I was happy I caught it. I didn't know. And right before I went live, it popped up on my wall, and I'm like, yeah, we're going to cover this too, along with Haleigh tonight. Come on. They're talking behind the scenes. I'm just happy Adam's taking some kind of blame finally.
Ladies and gentlemen, that objection is neither
We're back.
is neither sustained or withheld. The state will
clarify. Go ahead.
The trial, yeah, I'll come on every night and show after it's over. I don't want to do it while it's going on because I have kids, grandkids. It's crazy here during the day, but yes, we will come live every night during the trial and listen to it together if you want. Sounds fun. Okay.
When we're at that location, later on, you're going to hear testimony back at that location. When Adam came out from Redmond's location, you hear testimony that he sensed and smelled that heart after the bathrooms. And that's where the assaults began of striking. That's why it's important for you to look around, to see what else and who else is there, and to know what that area looks like. From there, we're going to then come back onto Elm Street. Probably do a loop around. Go north on Elm. Then we're going to go up to Webster Street at the top of Elm. And that's right over where you get past where you go on the bridge, the big Brady Sullivan Tower there. We're going to take Webster Street out. And here, we're going to go out on Daniel Webster Highway. And there's a Burger King. When we get to the Burger King again, we won't.
Okay, there's the Burger King. So, yeah, the methadone clinic is new. We just heard about that. And now here comes the Burger King.
Be getting out of the bus, but you're staying inside, and you'll have a chance to look at that parking lot. What the state is asking you to do is to pay close attention during that drive. How many stoplights roughly are we going through? What are the road conditions like? How long does it take to get there? You're going to hear testimony later on about that same drive. You're going to hear testimony how during that drive, the defendant's assaults continued. And he continued to hit Harmony as they stopped at red lights, as they stopped at stop signs. That's why you need to pay close attention during that drive. And we're going to go out to that location. After we've had a minute or two to sit in the bus there at Burger King, and you've had a chance to see the traffic flow, see what cars are like. At that time, we're then going to turn around. We're going to come back down Webster, continue north on Elm, and then we're going to cut over to an area on West River Drive, approximately 59 West River Drive. And there, we're going to make our first stop where we get out of the buses. 59 West River Drive is one of the street locations for Colonial Village Apartments. It's right up on the, you can see poorly drawn river. It's right on the backside there. We're going to be pulling in between those buildings and going to a very large back parking lot that's behind there. This is where your testimony that the defendant lived in his car after they.
Yeah, so this would be where him and the girlfriend lived. What was her name? Does anybody remember what her name was? Sheesh, I can't think right now. But yeah, him and his girlfriend were living in that car. And it was like right across the street from Kayla's apartment, right? Or something. Like not far. Or no, that's where they questioned him. They found him. I really want to go over that one night.
They had been evicted from their Guilford Street home, and where the defendant kept Harmony and the rest of his family after they left Burger King, after he continued to hit her, and drove back there to eat his food while Harmony was moaning. We're going to hear testimony that that's where he used his drugs while Harmony died. When you're there, I'm asking you to notice the number of apartment buildings that are nearby. Look at the number of cars that are in the parking lot, how big that parking lot is. I'm also going to ask you to take notice in that back parking lot area, look towards the tree line. Look at the very back row, closest to the river, where different cars can park. Notice all of that while you're there. It's going to be more than 1 or 2 minutes. So you can get out, you can certainly walk around, take your time to really look in that area and look at the different details that are there. Also look up at the side of the building. I'd like you to know whether or not you see lights on the side of the building that illuminate that parking lot, whether there are street lights that illuminate that parking lot. So do that while you're there. Once we're done, we'll get back on the bus and we're going to drive back towards the city, back on West River Road, back to Elm, and then south to the intersection with Webster. The buses are going to pull over on the side here, and we're going to get back out here. You'll hear testimony that it was here that the defendant's Gray Sebring died in the intersection. That it was here that where, with his family, the car stopped working. And then it was here, just before he needed to get a tow, you'll hear how he went to the back seat and found that Harmony was no longer alive. I want you to look very closely around that intersection. Look at the traffic going through that intersection. The number of people that were available at that intersection. We're also going to hear the testimony that at that time, when he realized that she was dead, that when you look at the different businesses around, I want you to remember that when later on you're hearing testimony, how his actions was to take Harmony and to stuff her in a duffel bag. You'll also hear later a trial from a tow truck driver, and you'll hear about a gas station on the corner. So while we're in the intersection, and we're not going to stand in the middle of the intersection, obviously we're going to stand on the sidewalk. But while you're there and you can move around, take note of how far away that gas station is and the short distance that the tow truck driver had to bring the car. And once we've spent enough time considering all of these, then we're going to be going to another address. You're going to hear a testimony about a lot of different addresses where the defendant brought Harmony's body afterwards. We're not going to be going to the first two addresses. That one that involves, you'll hear involves a deck, another one that involves a red cooler. We're not going to be here. We're not going to be driving by one on Lake Avenue as well that you'll hear testimony later on about where he stored Harmony in the ceiling. Where we're going to go is 644 Union Street. So from this intersection, we'll come back onto the buses, onto Webster, come over to Union Street, and head south. And the intersection of 644 Union Street is right at the intersection of Union and Orange. So Orange is the cross street. You're going to see two buildings. We're going to be stopping right outside here, 644 Main. Testimony that you will hear later on involves also a parking lot that's general in the back. But here we're not going to be getting off the buses. You're not going to have to go.
So how many locations did they say they were going to stop? I wonder if they're going to stop. Probably not. But we'll probably hear a lot in trial about them friends that Kayla and Adam had, the ones Adam stole the gun from. I'm really interested to hear more about that. It'll be nice, not nice, but it'll be interesting to hear it, to hear them testify.
Go inside. We're going to ask you to again look out the right-hand side of the buses and the size of the building. While you're there, we're going to ask you to please take a look at the number of apartments that are there, the number of neighbors that the defendant would have had based upon looking at those apartments. Look at the traffic, look at the lighting, look at the neighborhood. Later on, you're going to hear more testimony about that apartment and what took place in that apartment. Again, we will not be getting out of the buses. You do not have to go in that apartment. When we're done at Union Street, the buses will pull away. We'll come down to Bridge, back onto Elm, back south to Merrimack, and then back to the courthouse. I'm going to ask you to look at one last thing on this drive. As we come back to the intersection of Merrimack Street and Elm, roughly here compared to how I'm pointing right now, down at that intersection, Right across the street from each other, there's the Thirsty Moose Tap House, which is right on Merrimack. Right across the street from that is a Chase Bank right now. When we drive back down Elm, and then we take that left-hand turn to come up Merrimack Street to come back to the courthouse, I'm going to ask you to look out the right-hand bus of the window. We're not going to be slowing down there. It's Elm Street. We're too busy. But I do want you to look outside that Chase Bank. In the winter of 2020, you will hear testimony that that was not a bank, that that was the Portland Pie Company, pizza shop, that that was where the defendant worked. And you're going to also hear testimony that that was where, on one occasion, he ordered his wife to bring a CMC bag containing Harmony's body and stored it inside a freezer, seen by other witnesses. So when you
Whoa. Kayla didn't testify to that in that last court hearing she was in. That's new. This poor baby. Oh my God.
hear those witnesses and they talk about Portland Pie Company, we're going to be driving by that location. Again, it's a bank now. It's not a pizza place anymore. But understand where that location is to better understand the testimony that you're going to hear throughout the rest of this. And let me stress again, what you see on this view is going to be evidence. The locations we're stopping at: the Habit methadone plant, the Burger King up on Daniel Webster Highway, coming back to Colonial Village where we'll get out, to the intersection of Elm and Webster where we will also get out, the drive by 644 Union Street, then back to Elm and the drive by what was Portland Pie Company before we come back to the courthouse. This will be your only opportunity, as you heard from the court, to look at these places in person until the end of this trial. So take your time. If you need more time, please let the court staff know. We will stay longer in the parking lot. We will stay longer at the intersection. We have great deputies and bailiffs who will allow you to be able to explore the space in a safe manner, so that you're not going to feel like you've got traffic right on top of you or anything like that. So do please take your time. But when you listen to the testimony from the different witnesses, these are 5 of the key locations that you're going to hear. So it's important that you know what they look like in person before you hear that testimony. Based upon that, again, after you hear this and if you see all of the evidence of this case, we'll ask you to return a verdict that is just. But I would also ask you if you would please do also pay close attention to defense counsel's comments about the view, because again, the more observations that you can make on today's view, the better it will be for you to understand the testimony you see later on. And it's a one-only shot. Thank you very much. Thank you.
This was really smart because they don't have a body in this case. So to take them jurors there and see this is going to be so impactful. I wonder if they took us with them too. I doubt it, huh? I'm going to check tomorrow afternoon. I was going to do Andrew's ancestry, but that might be going too far. Whatever. The answers are there. I'm not going to argue with that. But maybe tomorrow afternoon I'll come live and we'll do some more Adam Montgomery stuff and see what I could find on today's trial, some news clips or whatever, and we can cover this portion of it. That's interesting. I didn't know. That's kind of sick. Ugh. Okay. That was a huge reveal, I think, there. We knew about the ceiling, like we knew of different places, but his job? Yeah, very impactful for the jury to see. I think this is how they're going to get their conviction if he doesn't plead guilty. For some reason, I feel like he's going to... Why is he putting them through all of this? if he's going to plead guilty to the abuse of a corpse, is that because he don't want to hear that in court? That only makes him it just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, let's finish this off.
Good afternoon. This is where the trial really begins for you, and you literally step into it. You step onto the bus, you go to places. These places are exhibits of your mind. These places in your mind you apply to everything else that you hear, see, and consider in this case. The state said that this was the last journey that Harmony made. This is where the dispute starts. This is not the journey that Harmony made, but this will be the journey that we make today. And when we leave here and we go to Merrimack Street, that's a clinic. And it is a clinic that you'll hear testimony that Adam and Kayla frequented all the time, or quite a bit. And that when you're there, I want you to look. We can't recreate what was happening on particular days or particular weeks, who might have been coming and going at what time. So you actually can only look around and see the exposure. What is the parking there? What can you see? What is exposed? What is hidden? And then apply the evidence that you hear about events that may have occurred there, and consider, could this have happened? Put your mind to the testimony and apply it. This is what I saw. This is what I remember. This is what the witness is saying. It is your evidence, but it's evidence in the case. Then you'll go from the clinic to Burger King.
In my opinion, without a body, this is a very good circumstantial so far. Day one, it looks like they have a lot of good circumstantial evidence, in my opinion. I guess we'll wait and see, because this, I thought this one might be hard to try, but it doesn't seem that way.
And at Burger King, that's really very, very important to look at that entire layout. Again, we can't recreate the amount of traffic that was on a particular day or a week. We can't recreate any of that stuff. But you look at the parking. I want you specifically to look at how that drive-through works out when you make the order and then you pay the cashier and then you get your food. Take that into consideration. Take the time to think about a route through the drive-through. What is exposed? What is hidden? Who can see what from what angle? Think about the cashier. Think about all of the stuff around the drive-through. And actually, when you're there and stop, think about that from the time somebody pulls into the parking area. And again, you will be applying that to somebody else's testimony. And then you'll be thinking and applying that. Does this work? Does this not work? What's going on here? It is your...
Didn't they say the jurors weren't allowed to take notes? That kind of sucks. I wish they would have allowed them to take notes so that they had a refresher. But I'm sure during evidence and during trial, they're going to show tons of pictures, so it'll remind them.
Evidence. From there, you heard that we're going to Colonial Village, and that is a place that you're getting out. So you will take the time Traffic's going to be different from testimony that you hear about, but you want to look what is exposed, what is hidden. From particular places, looking at the building, what can you see, what can't you see? We're going to direct you to particular places and areas and say, take a look and consider from this perspective, something that pictures can never quite do. And you got to hold it in your mind and again, apply it to testimony as it comes in. This is an exhibit throughout the trial, not just for this afternoon. From the Colonial, you will go to Elm.
She needs some hand sanitizer ASAP. I'm coughing all over and I'm not feeling too great because of this damn cold I've had for like 2 weeks. And watching her sneeze and cough all over her hands is driving me crazy. Just wanted to let you know that.
And Webster, which is a place that you're going to get out. And that is really critical on traffic because, again, it can't be recreated. But there is going to be testimony about traffic, about reaction to traffic. There's a car that's broken down there, and about what people did about the car, about what traffic was like because the car was broken down. And you want to, again, look. What's exposed, what is hidden, and apply your exhibit in your head to the testimony that comes here at trial. Then Fit Shelter is the next place, and you're going to hear about information that happened inside Fit Shelter. So you won't have that sort of same perspective of what's exposed and what's not exposed because you won't actually see that part. And there's testimony about Fit Shelter that is very disturbing, but you still need to go there so that you put it in place about the type of place that it is. And
Objection? I'm sorry, I think there's an objection.
They're objecting again. I'll unmute. Yeah, that drives me nuts. As a mom of a heart transplant kid, germs freak me out like that. I teach my kids, you sneeze and cough in your elbow.
Essentially withdraw.
messing up my words, Union Avenue. Sorry. You will not be going into Union Avenue, but some very disturbing things occurred at Union Avenue. So you want to hold this into your head. Think about the building. Think about the location. Remember Union Avenue.
This reminds me of the Idaho 4 murders. So they changed the business so you're not going to get to be able to go in and get a real view of the inside. This is one of those things where that building that we are just learning about should have maybe just been closed down and held on to for the jury to see. I still think it's going to be greatly impactful, but it would have been better for justice, for harmony, if the pizza shop was still there, right? That's my opinion.
Even though you can't go into it, and I think you'll be very happy that you don't go into it. All of this is an exhibit inside of your head, and keep the names a little bit better than I did. I'm so sorry about that. But the location is the same, and this is the journey that we are taking. And at the end from Union Avenue, you're going to come back here. And as they say, pass by the corner at Merrimack and Elm. Keep that in mind. I also want you to keep in mind the distance from the two. Distance in this case is a little bit less important, but still something to keep in mind as a person testifies about traveling from place to place, about how long does it take, the traffic lights, what is the delay. And I did forget, at each of those traffic lights, I want you to look around again, just as you're going through the traffic lights, what's exposed, what is hidden. You're going to be on streets. Assume that everything on the street is exposed. Look around on the sidewalks and the areas around it as well. It's a difficult thing. Again, you're not taking notes. And you're going to have to remember this as you apply it to all of the testimony in this case. All of these locations are important, not necessarily for the reasons that the state said. There is a dispute going on here, but there is no dispute that all these locations are very, very important. And we can only ask you to pay attention as best you can. When we get there, we'll just remind you of perspective and specific areas to look at. I believe that we'll be going behind you to make sure that the bus stops long enough for you to absorb all of the areas before you go to the next one, until you step out and actually walk around, starting at Colonial Village. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you wish for them to acknowledge your
So I found this and I figured we'd watch this since that was over before my hour and a half. I guess it's him in court. So it's a like 4-minute video. Let's give it a listen.
Do you wish for them to acknowledge your guilt on both of those charges, falsifying physical evidence and abuse of corpse?
Yes.
The surprise announcement came after the lunch break. 17 jurors had just been sworn in and given instructions from the judge, including explaining Adams' notable absence from the courtroom.
He is not here today. He has the right to be present, but he also has the right to be absent. You're not to speculate on why he is not here today, and you are not to in any way draw any negative or adverse inference or hold it against the defendant that he is not here today.
The jury was just coming back from
I don't know what I did. Hold on. My thing became stuck. I was unaware that Adam was not in the courtroom. So this man's not in the courtroom. He had the opportunity to be there. Ooh, I think guilt is coming. And in that thing we just listened to, those weren't his attorneys. Opening statements are going to be exciting tomorrow. Okay, let me go back to that.
from lunch for opening statements when Adam Montgomery appeared on video from prison to confirm his intention to concede to 2 charges.
And that by agreeing to allow them to acknowledge this in opening statements, the jurors can find you guilty of those 2 offenses, relying on that information. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The abuse of corpse allegations are some of the most graphic descriptions in the affidavit of how Adam allegedly moved Harmony's body to various locations around the city and then tried to condense her remains using lime and brute force. Again, opening statements tomorrow, 9 a.m. No word on if Adam Montgomery will be in the courtroom. He will be asked an hour before departure time each day if he plans to attend his own murder trial. We're live in Manchester. Amy Cavino, WMUR News 9.
Now, one legal analyst says Adam Montgomery's decision to acknowledge some of the charges against him shows that he may try to blame someone else for his daughter's death. She says the likely choice is Montgomery's estranged wife, Kayla, who is also a star witness for the prosecution.
I would guess that he will point the finger at Kayla Montgomery and say she was the one who did it, and just basically use the logistics of, he is alleged to have hit her while driving, right? So how could he?
That makes sense. There it is. He's getting ready to blame Kayla. I didn't think of that. That's probably, yep. He's going to say he helped. And he's going to accuse Kayla. Well, this could get interesting.
He do that, whereas he will most likely, again, I would anticipate he would have to testify that it was Kayla who struck her and she was distraught, and he had to handle the body.
LaFrance also says that strategy could require Montgomery to testify himself. And she says acknowledging abuse of a corpse may also be a sign that he...
Holy shit. You think he'll testify? I mean, in previous motion courts and stuff, he has been like, I can't think of the word I want to use. I guess the best way to describe it is the cold, right? Like you were saying. Like heartless, dark, no soul. Could he really be that evil? I mean, this man has kids to that woman. That would be interesting if he testified.
knows where Harmony Montgomery's body is. And while that development was playing out in court, jurors were retracing the Montgomery family's steps on the day prosecutors alleged that Harmony was killed. WMUR's Tim Callery is live now with a closer look at the key locations in this case.
And Jen, prosecutors describing today's jury view as the final journey of Harmony Montgomery, pointing out those key locations in their case against the little girl's father. The first stop of the jury view was a methadone clinic located at 20 Market Street. Prosecutors say this is where...
You know what I think it is? I don't think he just hated Harmony. I think he hated everybody, including himself. He was so abusive to his women. I'm not going to doubt that their other children were abused as well. Harmony was just the one that took it the most because she didn't belong to Kayla. That's my opinion. They were junkies. They didn't have the money to raise the children they had. They were constantly being evicted and moving from place to place. He was robbing his best friends. That's just my opinion of it. I don't think he loved anybody, and not even himself. It's sad. And it's sad for Harmony. And it's sad for the kids that are, God, I don't even know where they're at now. I haven't even looked. The system probably has them, right? Or her mother, which I doubt, because her mom was a little out there too. Okay.
Adam and Kayla Montgomery took their children back in December of 2019. It's here where prosecutors say Adam began his assault on his daughter, Harmony. The jury then traced the family steps to the Burger King on Daniel Webster Highway. Prosecutors say the Montgomerys went there after the clinic, and the state alleges that Adam continued to hit Harmony along the way. From there, it was the Colonial Village Apartments on West River Road. This is where the state says the Montgomery family lived out of their car after they were evicted from their Guilford Street home. Prosecutors allege that it was here where Adam Montgomery used drugs while Harmony was dying in the back seat of the car. The last stop was the site.
So that means the refrigerator and everything from Guilford Street was nothing. That was a big nothing burger, because that means that Adam was never back at Guilford. Right? Is that what they're saying? So this is... But didn't Kayla say he was hiding her in a ceiling? We're just going to have to see how this plays out. I didn't think they were homeless at the time. Yeah, I'm lost. You can tell I forget a lot of things. Summer's case has taken over my whole mind. I need to catch up on this stuff.
Of the former Portland Pie Company. It's where Adam used to work and where the state alleges that he stored his daughter's remains in a walk-in freezer. And now the jury also stopped at the intersections of Webster and Elm Street here in Manchester. That is where prosecutors say Adam Montgomery first realized that Harmony was dead after the family's car broke down. They accuse him of putting the little girl's body in a duffel bag and then calling for a tow truck. Reporting live in Manchester, I'm Tim Callery, WMUR News 9.
That's awful.
Ready to. Do you wish for them to?
Yeah. I'm messing up here. We still have a few minutes on this one. Oh, Carrie Moody's covering it too. Good. I'll give her a watch tonight. Let's see. This was 5 hours ago. Let's see what this one says.
And the surprise move by Adam Montgomery is prompting a lot of questions tonight. Legal analyst Patricia LaFrance is here to help answer some of those. And Patricia, what exactly does it mean to concede guilt? Why not just plead guilty?
All right, so basically what Adam Montgomery's attorneys will tell.
Yay, because that was my confusion too. So let's give her a listen. This was the perfect video to click on. Although I think I get it now. He's going to blame Kayla. Wow, this might turn into quite some trial.
The jury is that they're really not contesting that evidence. But the thing that struck me was opening statements are not evidence. They're just laying out the case. So it would almost appear to me that Adam Montgomery would have to testify, because somebody has to say, I acknowledge that these crimes I did commit. So it's an interesting twist, and it's an interesting strategy by the defense. I'm guessing the hope is that perhaps what happens a lot of times in jury trials is maybe they want to split the difference. They say, well, he's conceded to this, but, hopefully the strategy is that they find him not guilty of the murder.
And that raises the question, though, how can a defendant concede to abusing a corpse and falsifying physical evidence without looking like they're also guilty of murder? Does it look like maybe he's getting ready to point the finger at someone else when it comes to who killed Harmony?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think,
in my opinion, Sparkling Bubbles, I think way more than interesting. I think it's a whole change of events, and it's unexpected. I mean, I guess we could have expected he would probably try to switch it to Kayla, but to take that abuse of a corpse charge, that's a big charge. He's going to get time on that anyways. But it's not going to be the murder, of course, I just wish these people would produce this baby. Another family that won't produce the baby. Shitty ass parents. Like, oh my God. What's wrong with people on this earth?
I would guess that he will point the finger at Kayla Montgomery and say she was the one who did it, and just basically use the logistics of, he is alleged to have hit her while driving, right? So how could he do that? Whereas he will most likely, again, I would anticipate he would have to testify that it was Kayla who struck her and she was distraught, and he had to handle the body. So again,
But could it have been Kayla? I'm not sticking up for him. I'm looking at this unbiasedly. What if it was Kayla that hit her and he was sticking up? Because Kayla, they were separated but still living together, but having different significant others and the whole dynamic afterwards. This is going to be a whodunit trial, and it's going to be an interesting trial to watch. I'm excited to watch it with you guys now, and I hope Adam and Kayla, man, this dude needs to rot forever or be put up against some death penalty. Or did they do the death penalty against him? Is that what he's being tried on? Probably not, because they don't have a body, right? Wow, this is amazing. It would be hard to get a death penalty, but I think it could be done. But now with these two, they're going to be pointing fingers at each other during trial. That's yeah, I guess kind of expected, but not in this way. Adam made some big moves here.
again, I don't see him getting in all of this information without him testifying. And quite frankly, what that tells me also is that he knows where her body is.
And that's a question too, if that
Yep.
will come up in this trial as well. That's been a big question mark this entire time. But I do want to ask you, does this change the evidence that prosecutors are allowed to present? Can they still talk about what Montgomery allegedly did with Harmony's body if he concedes to abuse of a corpse?
Right. Well, they still have to prove their case because, again, he did not plead guilty. It's not being taken from the jury. A lot of times, if charges are dismissed or somebody pleads guilty, the jury is told you are no longer, you can no longer consider those charges. These are the charges before you now. However, again, the state, he hasn't done that. He hasn't pled guilty. So the state still has to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And again, like I said, opening statements are not evidence. So the jury will hear that. It is anticipated in the opening statements from the defense, but the state's.
I think they did do opening statements. I thought I seen something, but we'll do that in the afternoon tomorrow. Just because I want to get Haleigh on here. If we get into that, it's going to run over.
Still has to prove its case. So absolutely that evidence will still come in. They may not, call as many witnesses if he's already conceding to the evidence, and they may stipulate to some of the evidence. There was a lot of physical evidence linking him to some of the scenes. So I anticipate maybe they will stipulate that, this expert would testify, for instance, about his fingerprints on a piece of ceiling. I believe it was a vent where Harmony's remains were allegedly stored. So there may be some stipulations that both parties will agree to lessen the length of the trial, because a whole month trial is a lot to ask of a jury, especially.
I'm trying to remember, what was the plea that Kayla took? Could she still be tried? Was it just for those charges they were bringing them up when she was on stand? I think it was. Man, this might get really messy.
Especially when he is now conceding a lot of the charges.
Does this change anything else? Does this change opening statements or the strategy for both legal teams?
Okay, so no, opening statements will be tomorrow. We'll go over that tomorrow evening. I'll make tomorrow evening all Harmony, and we'll do Haleigh in a little bit here.
Right. Well, state always goes first in opening statements, so they really can't say anything until the defense does. So they're going to lay out their case just like they would. What happened today was, quite frankly, I think the defense attorneys just want to make sure they cover their bases. So, that happens a lot of times when you have a defendant telling you something like this, that he's essentially giving up a lot of his rights to challenge the evidence. You want to make sure you cover your bases so he couldn't claim on appeal that his lawyers went and did this without without telling him. So that's why you've had that voir dire outside the presence of the jury. So the court put it on the record. He absolutely knows what he's doing and is allowing his defense attorneys to concede those charges.
Patricia LaFrance, legal analyst, thank you for joining us. As always, great talking with you and really good to clarify some of these lingering questions here.
Let me unmute while I'm looking here. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a game changer, Sparkling Bubbles. I think it's going to be, this trial is going to drag for a while. It's going to be an exciting trial to watch, and I guess we get to make up our mind. Did Kayla do it, or did Adam do it? Either way, they're both guilty. Abuse of a corpse. He's going to jail. He already pled guilty to it, plus the drug charges. So the stolen gun, I think he got charges for. I have to look. I need a refresher, but yeah, 100% game changer. Okay. I love Annie Elise. I don't know if she would. That's only a short anyway. Okay. That was only 4 years ago. Here we go. Let's do this one. It's only 2 minutes long.
First tonight, late-breaking developments in the search for missing Haleigh Cummings. Good evening. I'm Jim Payne.
I'm Martha Sagowski. Reports tonight that Misty Crosland was taken out of jail and brought to the new search area where divers have been in the water for the past 2 days.
Take a look at this. The home where Haleigh disappeared from over a year ago is just over 5 miles from the new search area. Misty was the last person to see Haleigh before she says that child disappeared from that home.
West 2's Kendra Astrike out at that dive site tonight with the late-breaking details.
Dive crews and detectives wrapped up day 2 in the search here around 8 p.m. Right now, deputies are securing this dock area overnight. An unexpected twist in the case as investigators appear to need information from Misty Crosland about this search area and Haleigh's disappearance. Misty's cousin is also on investigators' radar.
I think that Misty had something to do with it.
Neighbor Ron Raschke has been watching as divers scoured the St. Johns River for 2 days now in the search for Haleigh Cummings. As the sun set Wednesday night, his suspicions grew even stronger. Misty Crosland was watching Haleigh the night she vanished. Sources tell our affiliate investigators brought Misty to the search site in Satsuma.
I think she was probably the one that did it in the first place.
Investigators say Tuesday they removed Crosland from the St. Johns County Jail where she's being held on drug charges to question the 18-year-old again. We believe Crosland left the dock here on Shell Harbor Road with detectives in this gold Chevy. Chopper 2 in HD followed the car back to the St. Johns County Jail where Crosland is now back in custody. Misty's cousin, Joe Overstreet, is also being questioned by investigators about Haleigh's disappearance.
Lost a lot of him.
Florida detectives talked with Overstreet for nearly an hour at the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. The 20-year-old had been visiting Satsuma the night the 5-year-old went missing. His attorney says Overstreet has no knowledge of what happened to Haleigh and believes he's being attacked by his own family to deflect the attention from them.
My son is at home not doing anything, bothering nobody, and people continue bothering him.
Investigators say they'll continue their search here in the morning following this unspecified, but they say credible lead in the search for Haleigh. In Satsuma in Putnam County, Kendra Strike, West 2 News.
Well, it wasn't a good tip, right? Yeah, we talked about that, sparkling bubbles, in the last live I did on her. That's why we're talking about this now, because it led us into the Joe Overstreet and I wasn't able to finish. Like I said, I'm just kind of going through clips and searching and going through what I can remember. And then I'll start my research when I start getting details again. This case was a long time ago, so it's a lot to take in again, but I'm sure my memory will come flooding back. Let's go find another video. Let's see. Linda Hogan, oh Lord. Yeah, we watched the Into Thin Air in the last live I did with her. Here, let's watch this one. It's 8 minutes long.
With Simply Meet Me, your invitees can easily schedule one-on-one, group, or team member meetings.
We have some breaking news right now in the search for Haleigh Cummings. Sheriff's investigators say they have identified persons of interest in her disappearance and have found items in their search that need to be further investigated. This just in, an update from Sheriff Jeff Hardy.
3 days ago, the Putnam County Sheriff's Office, assisted by divers from surrounding counties, began a diligent search on the waterway and wooded area around Shell Harbor boat ramp. The search is the result of information obtained during interviews in the Haleigh Cummings case. Items have been recovered at the search site, but at this point, it is not known if these items are related to the Haleigh Cummings investigation. All items located during this search will be forwarded to several independent labs for analysis. The Putnam County Sheriff's Office has received numerous
So like I said in my last live about this, Florida's a little more loose with their documents and stuff. So maybe I can go, when I start to dig the research, maybe I could go find the list of evidence that they took from the river, from St. John's River.
investigation or a homicide investigation. Over the past few weeks, information has been obtained by investigators that lead them to believe that Haleigh Cummings is most likely deceased. The specific details of this information cannot, and I will add, will not be released at this time. There have been rumors spreading that a suspect has been taken into custody as the result of this investigation.
That would have been Joe
Is
Overstreet.
not true.
Oh, no.
However, the
Okay.
investigative team has identified persons of interest in this case.
Joe Overstreet.
Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up for some questions.
Sheriff, can you tell me if you guys found a cinder block with a rope tied on it? And if you did, if that has anything to do with that tip that you got?
Ma'am, we're not going to discuss anything of possible evidence that might have been located at the boat ramp. But thank you for the question.
All along that Misty is the key to this case. Is that still true in your mind?
Absolutely.
Is it true this area has not been searched before?
This area has not been, we've searched lots of areas in Putnam County, but to say that did we put divers at this specific location, the answer to that question would be no.
Why not?
This is a huge river, and we searched in areas surrounding the home that we believe that she could have potentially been put in.
Say anything more about what the tip was that led you to this spot?
The tip came from a source that led us to this area, and as we have in the past, we are going to follow up on all leads, and that's what led us to this area and for this dive that we've been doing for the last 3 days.
Are you collecting objects?
So I believe that tip came from Tommy Crosland, which was Misty Crosland Cummings' brother. They had pulled him in for questioning. So next time we can go over Tommy Crosland. I think that's good to go over next. They had pulled him in for questioning, and he gave them Overstreet's name, blaming Overstreet for being angry about something with a gun, and then Overstreet wanted to steal a gun, and he took Haleigh instead, and they took her to the river. But then there was also the confusion of Misty being at a party that night. So these are things we have to listen for when we're listening to this to further research later.
Ma'am.
Did that tip come from Tennessee?
No, ma'am.
Did that tip come from behind bars?
I'm not going to discuss where the tips came from.
Can you tell
The
us
leads came from.
those persons of interest?
Tommy Crosland.
I will not be mentioning any names at this time.
Could you tell us a little bit about Misty's visit yesterday?
Listen, people are starting to cooperate. That's why I've told people it's going to be just a matter of time. And we're going to accept any cooperation that we can get. So
A rabbit hole, and not a matter of time. How many years later is it? This baby still doesn't have answers. It needs to be reopened and brought back out into the public, in my opinion.
again, it's a good thing. People are starting to talk.
How soon do you think this case will be solved?
We will follow this case to the end. And to give you a timeline on that, I'm not going to do that.
Can you talk about what kind of items they're collecting? Are they little? Are you guys collecting little things too for analysis? You know, like everything you see that might be something?
Absolutely. Let me tell you something. We've had between 15, 25, 30 divers in this water every day. They have searched.
Now, a lot of those divers were EquiSearch. That's another thing we're going to have to go over too. This is going to take me a while to get through. Lake Summers case, this was a case that was very confusing. You know, a lot of people, a lot of players, a lot of just fuckery. Plain and simple. A lot of the same in Summers case. Yeah, this is going to take a while to get through. Tim Miller really, I think, maybe not, I don't know. I have to go over and do a refresher, but there was a lot of bullshit with Tim Miller when it came to Haleigh's case.
In 0-0 conditions, using their bare hands, it's a rough search. We found everything from alligator toenails to, you name it, and we pulled them out and we looked at it, and so.
Sure, how likely, if she was in this river, hypothetically speaking, she was in there, how likely would it be that you could actually find her with the gators and the current and the boats and the mud, that you'd be able to find something that significant?
It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, but we were willing to go ahead and take the effort and the time to go look for that needle.
So is that analysis?
You said that some people are beginning to cooperate.
I remember when they were saying how mucky the waters were and how hard it was to see underneath of it. That was a really hard dive for them, and there were alligators and other things. I don't know why I'm remembering. I thought they drained the St. Johns River at one point. It may have been like a year or two later. I might be remembering something in another case. I don't know. But I just had thought that they had drained that part of the river, or at least tried. Took the level down or something. But okay, let's finish listening.
Is Misty Crosby cooperating specifically, and is there a plea bargain?
As far as the cooperation goes, from who's cooperating and what plea bargains, I'm not here to talk about any of that. I don't know of any plea bargain that's been offered to anybody, just so you know.
Do you think Haleigh died in this area?
It's our belief that that's a very real possibility.
Have you searched the land along here?
Yes, ma'am. We have searched the riverbanks, obviously, through due diligence. We went out and dived the area and searched on the other side of the river, searched this side of the river. Yeah, we've been there.
How long are you going to be staying out here?
Something I want to say, though, is that their search efforts were way bigger than what they did in Tennessee for summer. And they kept at it a lot longer. This officer really, even later, has still come out and done interviews, as we watched in the last one. And he did have a heart to find Haleigh, but it just never came around. And there were a lot of games played in Haleigh's case. Not as bad as now, because we have, different technology. YouTube's bigger. YouTube was there back then, because that's when the Casey Anthony case was going on. And I even made a Casey Anthony video at one point years ago. So, there was just a lot going on in this case. It was very confusing. But this officer did try really hard for quite some time. So I'm not going to give him all the slack. But there's definitely some sort of failure there,
We're getting ready to wrap up this search here today. We're going to wrap it up about 6 o'clock this afternoon. And just because we're leaving here doesn't mean that this lead is not going to be followed up any farther. We're going to continue to run with the information that we have.
Any idea how long this analysis might take? And would it be like DNA type? Can you talk a little bit about what kind of analysis of the materials that you're finding?
A lot of the materials were analyzed on scene right there. We had an anthropologist.
All right, we're going to cut away from Sheriff Jeff Hardy of Putnam County, but major developments in the disappearance of Haleigh Cummings. Deputies now saying that they believe that Haleigh is most likely dead, and they have identified persons of interest. This scene that you're looking at right here, if you've been following the story, this is about 3 miles from the home where Haleigh disappeared, and investigators got a tip to search this area with great interest. And yesterday afternoon, Misty Crosland, the ex-wife of Haleigh's father, Ron Cummings, was taken from the jail to the scene. They marched her in jail blues and in her handcuffs and questioned her on the end of this dock. Also tied into this case, investigators just last week questioned Misty's cousin, Joe Overstreet. He's in Tennessee, but he had been visiting the home that Haleigh had disappeared from back in February of 2009, and also in custody, Tommy Crosland. Tommy and Misty were arrested at the same time on drug charges. Major developments in this case. I want to bring in Chopper Dan McCarthy now, who has been up over the scene for the last several days. And Dan, did you see anything that maybe kind of piqued your interest or looked a little bit unusual?
Hey, Jim. Usual, but the sheriff said that they're winding things down this afternoon. On the river's edge, you can still see the dive crews going through, searching for any evidence, anything that will help them close this case. They've actually started to shift the search to the north along the east side of the riverbank. You can see this long old dock here. There's one of the sheriff's boats there they've been using to dive off of. And as we go down the dock here, you can see more crews searching this area. One other thing, the sheriff mentioned that they are winding things down today. The 2 command center, like RV type vehicles, have left the scene. They're no longer on scene here. So things are winding down, but still a lot of divers in the water, a lot of equipment still here searching, hoping these last few hours that they'll get some evidence, some type of closure that help them close this case. Reporter of the West 2 News Team, this is Chopper Dan McCarthy live, the new high definition Chopper 2. Jim, back to you.
All right, Dan, thanks so much. But Sheriff Jeff Hardy coming out just moments ago.
Okay, so that shows you the river search. We talked about that. Let's see, is there anything else? We watched this last time. Yeah, that was sad. Okay, let's see what this is. It's 2 minutes.
New allegations are starting to line up in the search for Haleigh Cummings.
First, Misty Crosland and now her brother are offering dark details about the night Haleigh vanished.
West 2's Craig Lucy with the late-breaking information. And Craig, all accusations point to one man.
Martha, we have heard a number of stories in this case. Now, two different attorneys are sharing the same story. They say Misty Crosland's cousin, Joe Overstreet, murdered Haleigh. Since February 2009, investigators have been prying Misty Crosland for information about what happened the night Haleigh Cummings disappeared. As recently as March, she told her mother while in jail she didn't know anything. Now, according to her attorney, she's changing her tune. He claims Crosland told investigators Haleigh was taken by her cousin Joe Overstreet and stuffed in a bag. Suddenly, there's a similar story coming from the attorney for Misty Crosland's brother, Tommy.
The two of these people have not been in contact with each other while in jail. So it's not like they're collaborating on stories or anything.
Tommy Crosland's attorney says Overstreet most likely strangled Haleigh and dumped her body in the nearby St. Johns River. Warder says Overstreet went to the Satsuma home that February night looking for a hunting rifle.
The gun wasn't there. Joe Overstreet lost his temper and took or did something to Haleigh that evening.
Jim Warder maintains his client didn't hurt Haleigh, but saw a lot.
Tommy rode with him where Joe Overstreet disposed of the body off that dock, which was the subject of search.
Haleigh's family believes both Croslands and their cousin have all been lying since 5-year-old Haleigh vanished. Haleigh's
It's like the one of the three have to know what happened to her. All three of them were involved. Ronald was at work, right? He comes home. Misty all of a sudden wakes up out of nowhere. Good morning, sunshine. Where's Haleigh? Calling 911. Ronald's in the background screaming. My only problem with it is when they arrested Haleigh, they went hard after Ronald too. Did they ever suspect Ronald? I mean, they did prove that he was at work, right? Like the whole time. I want to go through the 911 call again. I think I played it in the last live. Maybe we should go over it again. I don't know. This is just like another case that doesn't make sense. One of them three 100% know what happened to that baby. Yeah, he was at work. It was 100% confirmed, right, Sparkling Bubbles? Okay.
mother does too.
I don't care if they're in prison or not. They just need to tell what happened. The truth needs to come out so my baby can come home.
We called Joe Overstreet's attorney today, but our phone calls were not returned. The Putnam County Sheriff's Office has said that this is a homicide investigation, but they won't reveal many details about what they know. Still, many who follow this case very closely think that the end is near. Martha?
Sad. The end still hasn't come. Who's this? Saturn States. I never heard of her, and she only got 61. Oh no, she has 3 parts. Never mind. I don't want to play. Yeah, that was a different cousin. That wasn't the same cousin. We know what happened to Ronald. He's a failure to society. Oh, let's watch this one. Teresa Nevis is on here. She is Ronald's mother.
Monday.com is a confidence building morale.
I do believe that she's holding something. I'm not sure what it is or, how it can help. But I believe that she's holding something back, that she knows something.
Late breaking at noon, a new search to find the missing Florida girl, Haleigh Cummings. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sion Rhodes.
And I'm Jason Guy. Haleigh hasn't been seen in more than a year. Her disappearance surrounded by family drama. Her grandmother says she still believes the child's disappearance revolves around Misty Crosland.
Meanwhile, investigators say they are going on a tip, searching an area in Putnam County where the child is from. West 2's Jeff Lennox live from Satsuma. So, Jeff, what's the latest there?
Sian, at this hour, about a half mile down the street from where we are located right now, here along Shell Harbor, not too far away from County Road 309. That's where divers are working this morning. They arrived here just a few short hours ago. There are several divers in the water right now along the St. Johns River trying to get more information, more clues in this investigation.
100%. But it bothers me that she would have sat in prison this long without saying anything. Like, I'm sure at any moment, if she was to get up and say, hey, I know where Haleigh is and who did what to her, the only reason she wouldn't speak, in my opinion, is if she is guilty of doing something to that baby. She's spending 25 years in prison for 300 pills. Okay? She could have gotten out of that sentence. All she had to do was tell them where Haleigh was. And she didn't. She wouldn't speak. She's sucking up the 25 years. She gets out, I think, 2031 is her release date. So the only conclusion I can come to is something happened under her watch with Haleigh. Because it doesn't make sense that she wouldn't talk. She can still be charged with whatever happened to Haleigh. Just so people know that if Haleigh's ever found and justice ever comes, Misty's going to turn her ass right around back into that prison system. And I hope it happens.
So far, the Putnam County Sheriff, we've been pushing him for new details in this case. He's keeping those findings close to the vest, and so far, no new information from the sheriff. New video shot this morning shows divers in the St. Johns River. Dozens are scouring the murky waters, and some investigators are checking out nearby woods. Both teams looking for new clues in the Haleigh Cummings case. So far, the Putnam County Sheriff, Jeff Hardy, not saying what, if anything, they have found.
And another thing is, you know, last time we were talking about Tennessee connections and Joe Overstreet going back the very same day that Haleigh went missing to Tennessee. Did he drive? I don't think I ever heard how he got back to Tennessee, number one. There's two possibilities there with him, and that's that Tommy knows exactly what happened to Haleigh too, Misty's brother, right? Did he pass away? I thought I seen that there was a Tommy that passed away, but it might have been her father. I'll have to look into that. But if he did, then that goes to the grave with him. You know? Haleigh was such a beautiful baby. Look at them curls, them beautiful eyes she had. And it's sad. Like I said, it's another case that's like Summer's case. You know? Sparkling Bubbles, I appreciate you being here. Yeah, I think it's just, you know, this case is just, this is another, like I said before, very convoluted, busy case that's never been solved. I don't want Summer's case to be like this. That's another reason why I'm sharing this. Just as a reminder how fast the case can become a cold case and how fast time can go by. Both of these babies need found. Autumn Britt needs found, again, from the same area. I don't know.
This large-scale search happening about a quarter mile downriver from Kathy Goodson's home.
it's very sad if that child has been here all of this time.
The sheriff says a new tip led them to this portion of the river. Divers are using special boxes to dig underwater. Back on dry land, they had this to say about the visibility.
Dark. I mean, there's no visibility.
As crews search for answers, Haley's family waits in fear of what news might come next.
See, I have a good memory. Told you I remembered a news clip where they said that. My memory don't always work, but sometimes it does. I believe they elaborated on that, though.
Next, Haley's grandmother, seen here, left the sheriff's office yesterday in tears. The sheriff called in Haley's mom and other family members to keep them in the loop. On the investigation front, detectives brought in Haley's father, Ronald Cummings, and his ex-wife, Misty Crossland. Both are in jail, along with Misty's brother, Hank Crossland, and 2 others, accused of drug trafficking hydrocodone and oxycodone. Misty Crossland, the last to see Haleigh. She was watching the 5-year-old the night she disappeared. Detectives from the start of this investigation believe she knew more. Search crews hope this latest effort will turn up something. So divers again entered the water just after daybreak, and they're out there right now. Conditions pretty calm at this hour along the St. Johns River. Of course, we are checking in with the Putnam County Sheriff every few moments. So far, no new information from him. A press release just came out a few moments ago, but no new information from that. Of course, we'll have local live late-breaking coverage throughout the day here on WESH 2 and also inside WESH.com. Reporting live in Satsuma, Putnam County, Jeff Lennox, WESH 2 News.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see how she can't be guilty, you know, of something, knowing something. Like, what happened to that baby? Here we go. Another 2-minute video.
For the ones ensuring the job always gets done, and the ones wearing many hats, Grainger offers professional-grade industrial supplies and real-time product availability.
A search for new clues in
My stuff keeps, like, doing the death ring. I'll make sure my cache is cleared tomorrow.
the disappearance of Haleigh Cummings is over.
Now, Putnam County investigators have to wait for crime labs to test the evidence found in the St. Johns River, not far from where that little girl disappeared 14 months ago. WESH 2's Michelle Meredith is live at the sheriff's office in Palatka with new late-breaking news as to a tip that led where this search ended up going altogether. Michelle?
Well, who gave the tip? That's been the big question. Well, now we have the answer. Who led investigators here to the Shell Harbor boat ramp? According to James Werder, attorney for Tommy Crossland, it was Tommy. After a meeting that lasted over 2 hours, Tommy's attorney says Tommy took investigators with FDLE and the...
It's so weird. They, like, arrested and questioned half of her damn family.
Putnam County Sheriff's Office to the Shell Harbor boat ramp Monday night. The next day, Tuesday, the 3-day search began. The intense search ended Thursday when the sheriff of Putnam County announced little Haleigh Cummings is most likely dead.
Yeah, we're trying to make
Very
an arrest.
possible.
We're trying to bring somebody to justice for this little girl right here and her family. And that's what this is all about here today.
In the tiny town of Willatka, where some of Haleigh's relatives live and where posters of Haleigh still hang at the Willatka pharmacy, there was a sad sense of it's over.
I feel sorry for her family, and I hope to God.
A clue. Willatka. I never caught that before. She has family that lives in a Willatka, right? So, is that where Misty's family is? No.
I'll be with them and bless them.
So what did divers find in the murky...
It was Palatka. Sorry. I think you're right. I think she could have been to a party. But there was a rumor, Sparkling Bubbles, that she actually took Haleigh and her brother and went to a party that night. That was a really big thing. Okay, sorry, I keep interrupting.
Waters of the St. Johns River. They're also saying they're not sure it relates to Haleigh. Lab tests will answer that question. In fact, FDLE was on the scene. So at one point was Tommy's sister, Misty Crosland, considered the last person to see Haleigh Cummings. So how does this implicate Tommy, who's also known as Hank Jr.? His attorney won't say. Live in Putnam County, Michelle Meredith, West 2 News.
We have numerous assets that are still on the ground here today. We have aviation assets that are we're trying to get here this morning. As you can see, the weather's kind of hampering those efforts, but they will be en route. We have dive teams still here that are searching the river. We have boats out on the water, and we're putting new ground personnel out there, a fresh set of eyes to go ahead and research from the residents back out to cover some areas that we might have missed. We've stretched out to at least a 5-mile area, and that's where we've concentrated our efforts.
Do you think she's still in the area? Do you plan to?
A difference. A 2.2 square mile, I believe, or maybe even 1.1 square mile in Summer's case is what they searched. This search was 5 miles. Officer Lawson, I would like to know why.
Even further.
We'll expand the investigation as far as it needs to go. As far as whether or not Haleigh is still in the area, that is an unknown.
Sheriff.
Yeah, I believe they did end up expanded that too. That's what I'm saying. To me, it seems like that's why I can't get on board with Hawkins County, because it seems like they've done the least. They could have gone farther out, all the murky waters. I think we watched this one last time. Here, we'll put this one on.
Big developments today in the search for Haleigh Cummings.
Detectives say they now know the little girl was likely taken by someone she knew.
Yeah, they didn't identify any suspects, but they have ruled out Haleigh's biological parents.
The announcement comes on the same day as Haleigh's 6th birthday. West 2's Michelle Meredith spoke to the girl's grandmother in an exclusive interview.
Can't celebrate a birthday when she's not here.
Today is Haleigh's 6th birthday. The thought transforms her grandmother's face into a portrait of anguish.
Painful.
Little Haleigh Cummings has been missing for 6 months, vanished from her bed one cold morning in February. Has she been forgotten?
It makes me so mad. I'm going to tell you why. No, Sparkling Bubbles, I believe the grandmothers all loved Haleigh very much. The great-grandmother definitely loved Haleigh very much, but their families were so, again, generationally broken. Lots of drugs, addiction, abuse, poverty. And I believe that all plays a role in all of this, right? So, but the thing that makes me really mad is the fact that Crystal Sheffield's family, and I'm not going to give her married name now, but that family was kind of like left in the dark. She had, again, another reason why I feel for Crystal is because I too was a very young mother that had a baby that I had to make the choice to give it to its father. The only thing is I got lucky because the child's father was able to take care of him properly. He had the money, the time, the family, whereas they did not. You know, Teresa Nevis, I believe at the time, was working. Even the great grandma was working a lot. And I think the family dynamics played a really big role in it, but it pissed me off then, and it pisses me off now how they attacked Crystal and her mother and her family, and they never gave her the airtime she deserved to talk about her baby. That is her baby that was a victim. And it makes me so mad that even still to this day, when they go public, it's always to Ronald's family. I'm not saying Ronald's family should not be showcasing, but I can remember the attacks on Crystal's family. It made me so pissed off then, and it reminds me now watching this. I remember that feeling. Okay, hold on.
I can definitely say she has not been forgotten.
Today, the Putnam County Sheriff's Office released a surprisingly candid update on Haleigh's disappearance. Bulletins include: they don't think her disappearance is the work of a stranger. They don't consider her biological parents, Ronald Cummings and Crystal Sheffield, to be suspects. But they do focus on Misty. Investigators say physical evidence at the scene contradicts Misty's sketchy account of her evening activities. Haleigh disappeared on Misty's watch.
What do you think it's going to take?
All it's going to take is one small piece of information. You know, like I said, somebody out there knows what happened.
And in those 6 months, a lot has happened. Most you'd expect, like the countless.
Much like Harmony's mother, that woman was getting her shit together so that she could have her kids. She has other kids. She's very involved. She's very involved with Haleigh's little brother. I believe he lives with her or lived with her in the end of it. You know, she has a very big, loving family. Looking at photos, and you know, it reminds me, I'm glad I covered this on the Hills of Harmony, because in this aspect between the two cases, it's a reminder of how sometimes people who make mistakes and are trying to better themselves, they pay the price and consequence of the people that DHS departments give their children to. If you understand what I'm saying. And DHS does need to be held accountable. Do I think they are responsible for Summer personally going missing? No. I think in Summer's case, I don't think they play a role. I don't think DHS plays a role. I think it's some 501c3s that surround the DHS. And, you know, DHS offices are underfunded all over, so they're willing to take the help at any chance they get, and they're not looking into their employees. And, you know, a lot of parents suffer. I guess that's all I'm trying to say. These mothers lost their children, and then they hardly get any spotlight to put their children's names out there because people are always so focused on the criminal of it, and these parents are missing their babies. I see Crystal Sheffield's posts today. She posts every holiday for Haleigh. She posts every birthday. She has random thoughts in the middle of the week. And she posts about her baby 15 years later. Meanwhile, this family, the trash, I think they loved that baby, but they were all trash. They all failed Haleigh, including the system, just like they failed Harmony. These mothers and these babies are paying, and it needs to be brought out. So I'm very glad that I just played these two cases on the heels of each other, because that was a reminder for me. Yeah.
searches for Haleigh and the 4,000 leads that poured in, some that took investigators as far as Tennessee. And then there's the unexpected. Like when Haleigh's father, Ronald Cummings, married Misty, his 16-year-old girlfriend.
Ronald, what happened, man?
Recently, the couple had a family feud so intense, Ronald ended up in jail. Come on, Ronald. On our visit, we found Ronald and Misty still together, but a half year has gone by, and Haleigh is still missing. The Putnam County Sheriff's Office believes Haleigh could still be alive. They have no evidence to indicate she's not. They wait for new leads and rework the old.
We've actually got an agent with the FDLE right now who was assigned to us to go back through tips, just reviewing to see if there was something in a tip that might have not been, investigated, that, something that we might have missed.
You trim off the excess paper so it won't weight the balloon too much.
Today, on her birthday, Haleigh's family did not miss the chance to get her face out there. They sponsored a nationwide balloon release, balloons stuffed with flyers.
When they take it out of the balloon, or when it falls, they'll look at it. Again, like I said, I believe the grandmothers loved that baby the best they could. It was a generational, it just gets bad when it goes down the line. Each generation can get worse, And I do believe they did a lot for after Haleigh in the way they keep a bedroom for her. I'm not trying to down them at all. I just think the world was very unfair to Crystal Sheffield. Right. They couldn't break the cycle, and it just got worse, and it's just going to continue to get worse, as their children grow up. Not Crystal's. Crystal's children are headed in very big directions. She has an amazing family right now, but Ronald's family, they ain't going nowhere. They're still there. They're still doing the same thing. He gets out of jail. He goes back. No care for his daughter. Much reminds me of Donald Wesley Wells in some fashions, But the one thing, that's why I paused this, the one thing I will say is that unlike the Wells, and I'm not accusing the Wells of anything, it's just things I don't like about them in this aspect, okay? So you see, this family was out printing flyers, talking to agencies, going on Good Morning America, making a spectacle of themselves, being a circus act, but they still kept their baby's name out there as much as they could. Now, I give Candace a lot of credit because I'm going to say since Thanksgiving, I've seen a pep in her step. I've seen her doing the trees. I've seen her. I feel like Candace is doing a lot more these days. The truth just has to come out in that case and in this case. And I still can't, I like David. I talked to David Britt. I'm still friends with Miss Linda, and I love her. I love Miss Linda. She's so funny. She'll sit on the phone with you forever, and just talk to you. That's Crystal Spencer's mother. And it's hard. I also have feelings with David Britt because of the missing niece and the secrecy around his missing niece, who is, by the way, connected to the same area almost as Haleigh Cummings. So you have two missing children in that maybe 2-hour area apart from each other. And then you have Summer, and then the whole Harmony. It's just all these cases, you could see differences. You can see similarities. Yeah, Sparkling Bubbles. Watch my live. Which one was it? I don't know. Watch my last few lives. It'll explain a lot. There's one in there where I showed the interview of David Britt, Crystal Spencer, and Crystal Spencer's mother. I have interviews with all three of them, and it's eye-opening when you listen to them. Yes, please do, and thank you. Give them likes. Okay, let me go back to this.
And possibly, hopefully, if they've seen Haleigh, they'll recognize her and call law enforcement.
Haleigh's family can't forget her. Reminders are everywhere. Shrines with pictures, pieces of her little girl makeup, presents she's never opened. And then there's the pain.
Is there any way to sum up everything you've been through?
Heartbreak. It just hurts. It's a lot of pain. You get up every day praying this is the day she comes home. And you go to bed praying.
Haleigh's family can't forget, but their biggest...
Like, my heart breaks for them. I have compassion to see her crying like that. And to imagine how she's feeling with her son going back to jail all the time. You know, he got out, he had a chance, a fresh chance. It's just sad. You can learn a lot from watching these cases. And that's how you change the world. You watch it and you notice these things. Maybe it's something you notice in your own family that could be changed, you know? These cases could reach other people and save many children just by changing your behavior towards your children after watching this, or, you know, how closely you watch them and how you lock your doors. These babies need found. All of them.
Fear is the rest of the world will.
We miss her so much.
Michelle Meredith, West 2 News.
Hi, I'm Zoe Gong. As a traditional Chinese
Hoping against hope that she is still alive, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Okay. So here's where I want to talk about Summer a little bit. Let's bring Summer up a little bit. Her age progression photo. I had seen Miss Janky's last night, and I like Miss Janky's channel. I think she's hysterical. I've said this before. I think her and Chillbilly are just the funniest shit. When they fell in love, it tickled my heart for them. You know, you could see them coming on with their little secret relation, telling the world, yeah, we're dating and fuck Daisy. Like, I get a kick out of them. Okay. Entertainment wise, I like Miss Janky's. But last night, Janky's was talking about Summer's age, or maybe it was the day before, Summer's age progression photo. Now, I posted, and I hate the pictures of me, but it was shown Demuth. I posted a picture of my wedding. My daughter was exactly 8 years old in that photo. She was at 5 years old, very, very tiny, like Summer, like Haleigh. If you look at Haleigh's photo, it also makes her look older. Now, there's two reasons for that. At 8 years old, and I don't mean this in a sexually gross way, but at 8 years old, little girls, they start to develop. You can get your monthly Aunt Flo at 8 years old. Your body's making changes at 8 years old, so you fill out. Now, another reason the age progression photo would show that they're older is because these photos have to last a certain amount of time. So they try to get like a middle age between the current age. And I guess in Summer's case, it would be, they did hers when she was 7. So her next one wouldn't be done, I believe, until she's 9. Maybe 12. It's 2 or 4 years. So what they want is a middle look so that the photo and the look lasts. So you're getting an in between of the ages. And girls do fill out, and that's when their body changes. So they do look bigger. Here, for instance, I'll leave this where it is. But let's go. I'll show you pictures of my daughter at 8 years old. Okay? Only because they're already posted for other reasons. Just give me 1 second here, and I don't really want my fat ass in this, so hold on. Oh, fuck it. Okay. Well, this right here is my daughter at 8 years old. See her? She was filling out. It doesn't look like a child either, but look at Candace. Look at Candace's photos at that age. She has posted some. The picture they showed to me looks a whole hell of a lot like Candace to me at that age. You know? So, I mean, you just have to look. When they do those photos, they're very educated in those photos and what they do. And they study human anatomy, you know? They know what the body will do at that time. These people are good. They have found people that look like the people that they have put out there based on these photos that they do. So I'm not trying to like jock janky style or anything. I'm just trying to put the education out there on it that they are not, 1, making Summer that age, and 2, that's an odd age for a female. You fill out, your body changes, you develop, you know, like where they would put the photos. Like Haleigh was the same age. Do you think they made Haleigh look too old? I think it's similar to the way they made Summers. But okay, I don't want to stray too much. Let's go back to this. I just wanted to address her picture.
Children has released an updated age progression photo of Haleigh Cummings. When Cummings was reported missing from her Satsuma home in February of 2009, she was 5 years old. She would now be 12. News 4 Jax first told you about the new photo with a push alert on your mobile device just before 12:30 this afternoon. Today, the child's great-grandmother spoke with Channel 4's Nicole Snyder, who's joining us. Nicole.
Yeah, I do think Summer's photo looks a little bit different, but after seeing photos of Candace at her age and then trying to picture what she would look like with a little bit of Dawn, I can see the change in her. I also see change in Haleigh, though, too. You know, her cheeks aren't as chubby. I don't know. All of the pictures could be wrong. I personally don't like the YouTube people that are connected to people that do the sketches, and they're out there putting makeup on Summer and making her look real skinny, and like that doesn't, to me, deflect an 8-year-old. Because at an 8-year-old, that's even when skinny children develop. Like that's the start of the development for girls. Yeah, it makes me sick too, Sparkling Bubbles. Like, it makes me mad that they go out there and they're like sexualizing Summer. Like, oh, she's so pretty. Yes, Summer would still be pretty. And I bet you Summer would get even prettier as she gets older. They get taller, they develop differently. You know what I mean? And the way everything in Summer's case has been exploited. Everything. Even her age progression photos. They should have just let TBI do that. It's not nobody's job to put out photos. They all make fun of Prayer Garden for cutting pictures and faces. And yeah, Prayer Garden's wrong for that. It should always be Summer's real picture so that you're keeping her out there the way she looks. But it's not any better that you have people out there trying to override the authorities like the TBI and things like that and put out their own pictures. It causes confusion. And I think it's wrong. I just do. But okay, I got about 10 minutes left here, so let's get back to this news clip.
Tom, Haleigh's great-grandmother says January is one of the most difficult months for her because it leads to the anniversary of the little girl's disappearance. Despite what police say, she believes that Haleigh is still out there, and this new picture gives her more hope. More additions are made to Haleigh's room as the years go by, a room filled with love for the little girl. Now this new picture can be placed on the
You know, they still have that room up. That's why I was saying I can't down any of the grandparents. They still have a bedroom for Haleigh in the same house, the same trailer. It's beautiful.
wall of what she could look like today. What's going through your mind when you look at that for the first time?
Just wonder, is that really what she looks like? You know? It very well could be, though. The eyes are a good.
Annette Sykes, the great-grandmother of Haleigh, hadn't seen the photo until our interview. She says she brought Haleigh's picture to authorities 3 months ago for the age progression photo to be made.
We always have hope until they bring us a body or some definite proof, undisputable proof that she's deceased. She'll always be alive in our hearts and in our minds.
The 5-year-old disappeared in 2009 while in the care of a babysitter, her dad's girlfriend, while he was working a night shift. Local and state law enforcement agencies have spent thousands of hours on the investigation. The case remains open, but the leads have gone cold. Sykes says watching the Lonzie Barton case play out this month brings back painful reminders, not only because of the similarity of the cases, but because Haleigh and Lonzie are related.
Now there's 2 of them missing. Of course, Lonzie was her cousin.
I freaking forgot about that. There was a missing child. Oh, see, technology. Check. Another something to look into. I forgot that Haleigh had another missing cousin. That's right. Another similarity to the Wells. More than one missing person in the family.
Cousin. In a way, it's almost like her going missing all over again. You know, the cases to me are a lot alike.
She says she isn't able to have any contact with Haleigh's family or her little brother, a link to her great-granddaughter.
We love him and we miss him. It's like losing her all over again. He was our one contact with her.
Sykes, who told News4Jack she has stage 4 cancer, says she's running out of time to find out what happened to Haleigh and is hoping for any piece of information to bring her back.
And I'd like to know before I leave this earth what happened to my little girl.
And she is still alive. I don't know what the status is on her cancer. I haven't really checked that side of the family lately. But okay, guys, I'm going to cut off. It's just blah. I'm going to get off of here a few minutes early since I stayed longer than I usually do. Thank you for being here, Sparkling Bubbles, and anybody else that was watching in the background. I'm going to come live again tomorrow at some point in the afternoon. I'm going to cover something with Summer, and then we will go into some Adam Montgomery coverage, old coverage. And then tomorrow night I'll be back and we'll just do Harmony. Okay? Thank you for being here. Peace and love.